Welcome to Fly Fishing Pass It On with Brent Schlenkers. Understanding your equipment and setup is crucial for a successful day on the water. One of the most overlooked aspects of angling is tying good knots and where to use them properly. Brent will share some of his experience with you so you may enjoy some memorable days on the water. Let's go to the bench with Brent.
Well, good day and welcome to our next segment here. Tying knots, and good strong knots are always probably the most important aspect of our rigging and fly fishing experience. I know many times we get a good big fish for lifetime on the end. You're wondering if your knot's going to hold. We've all had experience where you see the little curly at the end of your knot. That's on you. That's the angler that tied a bad knot. It's not because the line gave up, because of breakage. So we want to show you some, I'll show you some of my favorite knots that are quite simple to tie and have been proven over the years for me to be great knots. And it's kind of a complicated subject in a way, because you can go online and there is a lot of really good knots and good demos on there, and everything has its purpose. I try to keep it simple and easy to follow even for beginners. We're going to use knots that are very similar and overlapping, jam knots and dropper knots and loop knots and so forth. So we'll cover the system start to finish, and also on small flies to large flies, and how to tie these knots with different types of materials. I've got quite a bit set out here. I'll show you some different materials we're going to be tying with and so forth. So let's get into it and show you the importance of tying good strong knots. And what you want to have for starters is some good tools. You want a nice set of nippers. A lot of nippers have a little clean out needle right on there. Sometimes your fly eye gets covered with cement, so you can just poke that out. That'll save some frustration. Here's a little easy knot tire here. It swivels. You got a little deal to catch your tag. I can show you a knot or two with that. I also like to pack these. These have been with me a long time. These scissors. Here they have kind of serrated scissors there. Also little pliers at the end. I can smash my barbs and grab and tie with that too. It's a great little tool. We're going to saltwater. You want to make sure you have yourself some good big pliers there for those guys. That'll look after some of those big lines. And here's a lanyard. I just like the string hang out over my neck. It's pretty important. I have my knot tying tools with me and my nippers. We're always seem to be reaching for those. Okay, the first, so I'll take the one, got the lines crossed here. I'm taking this one, forming a little loop, and I'll just go through this loop 2 or 3 times. Pull it tight. Turn my line around in my other hand here, just so I can carry on the same way. Take the other tag and do the same. 1, 2, 3. Always good to pinch your lines down there so you don't lose your tag like I just did there. So then those 2 knots just simply slide together. That's a Uni-Knot connection. Okay, so that's a basic Uni-Knot. Okay, so let's do a Uni-Knot here. I'll just use my back in here. That's a little easier to see. Thread it through your eye of your hook. Come back around your fingers. Nice little loop. And there again, we're going to go through 3 times, 4 times, whatever works good. And pull the tag down. There's your Uni-Knot. Now this will slide, so I hold it with just above the fly to keep a little bit of a loop there, and I can pull this down. So it does create, it still has a loop. And it will pull right down to your fly if you want it to use it for dry flies, for example. You can just let it tighten right up. And this will slide open again too. So if you get a fish on, you want to open it up for another loop knot, then you can do that. So then you got both options there with the Uni-Loop Knot. Duncan loop, it's named that as well in some places. And I'll show you that with a fly and some tippet. And why we use loops. So here we have a little chronomid and just a small little rascal here. We'll get our tippet material through. And most anglers are using clinch knots, and I just kind of stay away from them. So I got here my little loop there again, coming through a couple times, 3 or 4 times is good. You have your loop. You always want to wet your knots, and that'll just tighten right down. I keep my thumbnail right there ahead of it so it doesn't go right down to I can pull it really nice and tight. It doesn't tighten down on the fly. But you can see there's that little chronomid. You're going to get a lot more action on that dangling freely like that, or any nymph. And it'll pull down tight, but just to give you an example, when you have it down tight, you've basically got a stick. It's not doing much. You know, there's no movement. It's just bouncing off the end of your leader. So it is quite an advantage. Now, you can tie a loop knot like that, and then when you get a hit, it's going to go down to the fly, but you can just slide that up with your thumb, like I said, and then you've got the movement again. So it's really one of my favorites for sure. I'm going to show you that knot once more with my little tine rig right here, in case you're interested in getting one of those someday. Okay, let me get my lines figured out here. I'll just grab a little jig, put that through the eye of the jig head here. Then we go around, make our loop again. Okay. Then I'll just take this tying tool right through the loop. There's my standing line in behind. Now I'm just going to go, and I turn this around. I can go 3 or 4 times, pull it back, and grab the tag. By pulling this back, you can catch the tag in the tool right there, and that'll pull it right through, right down tight. You gotta have the same knot. All right, so then there again, look at the advantage of the movement with loop knots. So this little tool here, I can whip them up pretty fast. Just cut that off, and we'll do another one here. This girdle bug, a little loop through. Off the tag, and you're fishing. So, like I say, it doesn't matter if it's streamers or whatever you're using, dry flies. And sometimes with the dry flies, I'll tie one on in a minute here. We'll get to see that. The clinch knots have been always used, and you can tie clinch knots with that tool as well. Very simple. I just thread it, go through the loop, and then just around a few times, grab the tag, and that's a clinch. And improved clinch is you just take the tag back through the little loop up top, and there you have the improved clinch. And sometimes you'll want to use that so your fly, sometimes your dry flies could follow with a loop, so you want to make sure you have a direct connection on your line with no loop, so you want to use that improved clinch, and it'll just, you get a little better presentation sometimes when you're casting it out there and you want it at the end of your line. So sometimes the extra movement on a dry fly is good. I'll use both. Depends on the situation, and there you go. Improved clinch or the Duncan loop or the Uni-Loop Knot. Okay, so let's tie a mono loop knot, which is one of my favorites. Doesn't slide, pretty easy to tie. We put an overhand knot in the line here, and we add our fly. Run our line back through the little loop. Then we're going around here 3 or 4 times. Then back through the loop again. And that is your mono loop knot. Very, very strong, nice, lots of nice open loop. So you can see it can get a little big sometimes, so it's always hard to, you want to have a nice knot that ties nice and neat, close to the. Okay, so let's do a mono loop knot for a little streamer. Here's some 12-pound test. We're just going to use that. I'll put a loop in the line here, just an overhand knot. Okay, add our fly. Come through the knot. You can see, there we go. Come through the knot. Now, what I like to do here is I keep, instead of turning the tag, I'm turning the fly. Because it's easier, I can manipulate that quite easy in my hand. And then just run that tag through the loop. And I've got a lot more control to make my loop. I'll do that again. We're going to make it a little smaller this time. But that loop is a great way to get a lot more action on your flies. And that will definitely improve your game right there for sure. It's just loop knots are really, really good. Put her line through the eye. I think I got my old tag from last knot still sitting there. We don't need that, do we? Go through the little loop in that knot. Bit of tension. Okay, now I'm down. Oh, let's look at that. Other junk there from my other knot. Is it still there? Yeah, it is. Get out of the way. There we go. Okay, now you can see that loop is really tight to my fly. Turn that fly a few times, go through that loop, a tag, and you have got a loop knot super, super tight to that fly. It's really nice and neat. Trim that off. See how nice and tight that is? And you got all that movement. That's the best knot right there, and you can use this for streamers, lake flies, anywhere you go fish. Movement is the key. You want to have as much movement on those flies, swinging it, stripping it, having the current do its thing for drifting. There is just no downside to loop knots, none. So practice that one. That is one that I use all the time. Okay, so here's another knot, another loop knot that is really handy. It's the improved Homer Rhode. So here I'm taking my line. This is a 25-pound saltwater leader. And I'm going to go through here twice. I'll pull it, and we will get the figure eight knot right there, figure eight. All right? Put it through the eye of the hook. And we're simply going to take this line, follow it back through figure eight. Right back through. You just follow that line backwards. Through the bottom, through the top. And that goes through the figure eight knot. Okay? Grab our pliers. Make sure you don't stick these hooks in your hand. Make sure they're sticking out the bottom. Okay, that's critical. Save you a lot of injuries. Now I'm going to pull that tight right to the fly hook. Okay, that's step number one. Then we're going to come around the standing line, just coming around it, complete circle. Another little overhand knot right there. And I can get that as close to the fly as I want. And I'll tighten that up somewhat. So now what we do is we take the pliers, we have a little ring on the end of our pliers, and we pull that together. And that jams together. That's another really, really good loop knot. Improved Homer Rhode. Everything nice and straight, doesn't kink anything up. I'll do that one more time. This time I'm gonna bring in some 60-pound. So, you know, it's pretty hard to tie a knot on that big, heavy 60-pound material. Let's bring that in. This is typical what you're gonna be tying on a tarpon or whatever. As you know, not everybody tarpon fishes, but give you an idea. I mean, there's no other knots that would do this, really. Go around twice. You'll be able to see it a little better this way too. Pull it down, figure eight. Through our hook. Now we just go back up, follow that line, back. All you got in here is that hook in between. It's basically going back through the knots that are appeared. It just crosses and then go down through this one. Okay, a little easier to see. Get a hold of this again, make sure that the hook's not in your hand. Pull it down super tight. You gotta really pull on that. You need a good set of pliers. You can't do that by hand. You gotta have a good set of pliers. Now you wanna go right around this. See, I'm going right around this line. Not half, all the way around. And I have a nice little loop ahead of that right there. You can pull this a little bit if you want. Make sure all your knots are wet. That also tightens them up. Put it on my plier on the loop and pull her down nice and snug. Put that off. Going saltwater fishing, make sure you get yourself a good set of pliers. Got good nippers on there. You got everything cutters and cut anything with it. There it is. Duncan loop, or improved Homer Rhode, I should say. Just a great knot. I use that in the salt. 20-pound test on up and everything. And I actually even use this when I'm streamer fishing or steelhead salmon, whatever. That's a knot that does not fail. It's a really easy knot to tie. I always say they're all easy, but you just have to practice. That's one thing I got to emphasize is make sure you practice your knots Don't practice them on the water when you're fishing. You got other business to do there. Practice them at home, sitting around the camp, whatever. Get practicing those knots. Okay, so here's a scenario here. I won't do this with the backing. I'm going to show it to you. This is probably a 30, 40 pound test right here. Typically coming off a leader. Now I'm going down to 20 pound. And I want to join those two. Now I showed you those Uni-Knot connectors. They would work, I'm sure they would. But here's a better one. We're going to take the figure 8 knot that we showed you with the improved Homer Rhode. So just go through the figure 8. There we go. With the big line, the heavy line. Then we'll come through again with the smaller line. This is very typical when you're tying saltwater rigs and also when you're tying just maybe you want to tie your own leaders or whatever the case. You got to go from a big stiff heavy line. These are hard to tie knots in that hold. So now we just follow that figure 8 knot up the same way. I'm going to tighten this down pretty good, just kind of snug. I'm not going to give it the real heave-ho yet. Pull my lighter line through. Okay. Take just my little finger here, my index finger, and I'm going to go around the standing line with the tag of this 20 pound 7 times. Pinch it there. Then I'm going to come back 5 times. There we go. And then I'm going to run it through where my finger was, comes in there, just through that loop. And this gets, you got to wet this down for sure. Give it a good pull. That's called a Slim Beauty. So that is a really, really good knot for attaching 2 larger sizes and a small size line. And especially like I could tie that 60 pound on there, that real heavy, or 100 even. Now here I'm going to take some braid. Here's some Power Pro braid. And put this on a running line, which is, now these two materials are not easy to tie with, right? So what I want to do is we're going to use another loop. We're going to form a loop with our running line. Take my braid through, pinch it off there. I'm going to go around this 2 lines, just keep pinching it as we go forward. 7 or 8 times. Take the braid back through the loop. And that binds down really nice. Albright knot. Trim those ends off. So we got 2 very smooth lines that are really hard to work with. Really slippery. That running line and the braided. So you could use that on a toothy critter even, like that's a 50 pound Power Pro braid. Very, very strong and pretty hard. It's almost as good as wire, I would say. And then you'd have this running line. Now what is a running line, you'd ask? Would be a line that shoots. It's a shooting type head system that I'm just using because it's very slippery. I wanted to demonstrate this knot for you. Okay, so here would be a situation where we're going to be using a ridge running line here. These are airflow lines, they're great lines. These, now here's a loop on here. This is double surgeon loop, and it's got a really large end on it. And this is quite stiff material, as you can see. But you see the large loop we have. Now that's neat. We got to have a large loop on there for this reason. Here's a shooting head. Now you can get all sorts of configurations of lengths, Skagits and Scandinavian heads of all sorts and weights, and there's no end to it. I pack a lot of these heads along for different trips and different water. You can change on the fly. So this running line goes on after you're backing on your reel, and it shoots really easy. Like you're basically having this outside your spay rod or your single-handed rod. Even you can darn sure fish them with a single-handed rod too. So where you want the large loops is you take these, I always put these little pipe cleaners on there to secure everything up so they're not in a mess. And all you do is just drop this through. We go get our tip here where this is where we're going to attach it to the running line. There's loops on each end of these running lines or shooting heads. Run that tip through there. There we go. And then just open it up and it marries. And you can swap them heads out in seconds. And then here I got another loop on the other end. Got this tied up with a little butt section here of my monofilament where this will get my leader material to the fly. So all loop to loop connections. And here's the next one we're going to tie is perfection loop. What's important there? So here's a loop to loop, a double surgeon loop. I'll just tie that one first, then we'll do the perfection loop on the other end. Now these are not just for spay guys, or you can use this system for many different. Loop, get my Rhode, there we go. Now we'll get that out of the way. Let's get some line here just to do a double surgeon loop. Just a nice big loop. Simple, just go overhand knot. And then just do it again. It just goes around twice. And there's your double surgeon loop. That works good for attaching your fly lines onto your backing too. Okay. Okay, so let's go over a perfection loop. You take this colored line, it's easier to see. We go in behind. Hold that there. Come over top with another little loop. I like to make this one a little bit smaller. And then I come in between, go in behind, and in between those two loops. Pinch that off, grab the smaller loop, pass it through. That gives you a perfection loop. And perfection loop comes straight off the standing line, comes straight. Everything's straight always, because if you do a surgeon loop or whatever else, it kind of comes off at an angle. Okay, let me do that once more. This one's a few more moving parts, so we'll try it one more time for you. Okay, go in behind, over the top. The tag is under and over, under, over, back around in the middle, split those two loops, come through the front loop here, pass it through. That's a perfection loop. All right, now I'm going to do it with some monoline, and then we'll show you how nice it lay straight because we want to use it to loop knot. Okay. So here we have the monofilament. Grab it in. Grab your free working hand. I'm left-handed, so maybe it's a little hard for you to follow me too. Go under, over, and then the tag goes through the middle between those two loops. Take the smaller loop and run it through the bigger one. Grab your little something round, you don't want it sharp, and then just pull that really nice and tight. And there it is, the perfection loop knot. It comes straight off. It's true every time. And trim that tag off. I'll just cut this line off just for demonstration purposes. That'd be your leader. And here's my loop to the fly line we were talking about a minute ago. So there's a wrong way of doing this. I want to show you the wrong way first. If you do these loop connections wrong, it's a real unfortunate thing. I did this for a while. I'd cut a bunch of loops off because they were hinging so bad. Here I wasn't putting them together properly. So we all learn by making mistakes. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I never made many. I made lots. So when you go through and then just go through the loop with the mono and back through the loop with the mono, all you have here is a hinge. It's horrible. It won't work. It's a lot of grief. So let's take that off. Just want to show you the right and wrong way, because show you the right way and not the mistakes, and you wonder what the heck is he talking about. That didn't seem to look so good. So now we come through our loop of our leader material with the loop of the fly line. And I'll just come through. It's so simple, you think, what the? With the tag. And the two loops will marry. And they're nice and tight and straight, and there's no hinging. So that'll transfer your power from your cast all the way down your fly line. All that energy is going right down and transferred onto your leader. And of course, that's why we use tapered leaders. So just get that nice subtle presentation to your wet flies, dry flies, whatever's on the other end. So there you go. Loop to loop, done the right way. Okay, so what happens when you have a fly line with no loop and you want to build a loop? Okay, we'll just fold that over. I'm going to use some backing here just for the demonstration. We'll make a loop here, like our Uni-Knot loop. And we're just going to go around 5 or 6 times. Tighten that up. Nice and slow. And you'll have your loop. Plug it down and you have a nice useless loop. You don't want it that big, but just to show you that Uni-Knot will hold. It squeezes right into your fly line material really nice. So I'm going to tie an actual one this time now with, and read this fly line is issues, so I'm not using it anymore anyway. Okay, now we need some tippet material, leader material here. Build ourselves a loop. Do it a little more practical this time. Because if I didn't have a loop on there and I want to go to loop system, I need to build one. So now we're just looping our fly line. I'll leave a decent tag out the back here. Build a loop, pinch it off your fingers. My holding hand right here. I'm going to just go through my Uni-Knot here several times. You want to 6-7 times at least. Keep pinching it as you go. Keep it, don't let it get loose on you. And then you just start snugging her down. You might want to see, now we got a pretty big loop there again. I can shorten that right up. Get a hold of it. Where's my little pliers? I want to make sure that I get a hold of just the mono. I'm going to really snug that down nice and tight. I really got a good pull on that. And we're going to trim off the butts. Little scissors are handy, little serrated blades. So there you have a nice little loop. Now you got a mono loop knot. Won't fail you at all. It's a good loop, good little, or not a mono loop, I should say, just a uni knot, just holding that together. So there you got yourself made your own little loop. Make your own heads, you can do whatever. You got lots of options with that one. Okay, let's try a dropper knot here. I'm just going to use these two colored lines again, just like we started, just for connecting them. This is going to be just a little easier to follow. We're just going to go through with our uni knot. This is kind of a repeat of the first one I did. Just joining the two lines together, building the leader, or joining your tippet, or whatever you want to do. These are just connecting two lines with your two uni knots that pull together. Easy. Okay, slide together. Very nice, and never fail you, those knots. Now we got our uni knot in the center there. Now we need our dropper material. Let me grab some, there's some 15-pound. Probably use something a little lighter, but now we'll come in here and do our perfection loop. Under, over. Come in between. Take the little one through. There's your perfection loop. Again, so just repeating, we're just doing some rigs. There we go. So there, perfection loop's got a couple purposes, many purposes actually. Okay, where's my joint? Now, say this yellow line was going down to the fly. This is going to my reel. I would take my perfection loop, fold it over. Just have a nice, and you don't want your droppers too long anyway. And that just goes through your standing line and goes down to your joint right there. And you just tie a fly on the end of this. You know, you're going to go, what, 5, 6, 8 inches, whatever you want to do. You get them too long, you get all tangled, so you don't want to get them too long in those droppers. Okay. Nice thing about the perfection loop is it'll slide up your line to be adjustable. So it takes us to our next situation. I'm going to bring in my yellow again just to demonstrate this. We want to jam this up a little tighter to the top. I'm going to get some lines are a bit tangled. Consuming myself with lines. Okay. So we'll just take, and actually backing or something like that works really good for these jam knots. Okay, now where were we at? Oh, here's our dropper line right there. Now we don't want it to go down all the way to this line. We're just going to move it up, say a foot or two or whatever you want. Now I'm going to lay this two lines against each other again. These are all knots. These are just repeats. Here's another Uni-Knot. I'm just showing you where you can use them. It's like a bobber stopper. So there, you want to make sure you get hold both ends of that yellow line. That's your stopper. Put a Uni-Knot on there. Now your jam knot's moved up. Okay. Set it down here. I've got it here, and I can slide that. It's pretty tight on there, but I can slide that dropper, and you can always tie a few of them dropper knots on there. They'll come through your guides real easy on your line. They're not going to hurt nothing. Another thing I want to mention is on these knots, sometimes, here's when it's all frayed. I wouldn't use that, but you get those little, when you get it want to hang up on your guides and your rod, it'll damage your rod. So I would suggest getting some UV knot sense. I'll grab a bottle of that. I want to show it to you. Okay, so let's say we are attaching two lines together. We'll do a Uni-Knot connection here on this 25-pound saltwater leader, which is a lot thicker than 25-pound in this ultra grain Maxima. Okay, same breaking diameters, but it's about half the breaking strength, about half the diameter, I should say. So we're going to do a Uni-Knot connection on this, just to show you there's quite a difference in this rough. This knot can get a little bit, not super rough, but give you an idea of what we can do with it here. I'm going to do a Uni-Knot on both ends. Very reliable knot, not just two jam knots. It's going to jam together. Make sure we tighten that one down good with that salt water, because it's, we pull those knots together nice and tight. So it's a pretty clean knot. Grab my nippers here. Trim that down. Okay. So, pretty good, neat knot. No problem at all. But here's the UV knot sense I was telling you about. This is a great material. If I'm out on the field, I make sure I'm not trying to put this on in the sun, because it'll dry just coming out of the bottle. Put a little of that on to smooth your knots out. Okay, and now turn around and look into the sun with it. There's a nice transition, and then that sun will cook it on there real quick. So that won't screw up any rod guides on your rod. It'll slide through those guides a lot easier, because this rough edge on here will catch on your guides. All right, so you want to make sure it's a lot easier than wrecking a rod, putting that UV knot, and it actually makes your knots even a little stronger too. Got a couple of purposes. Cook that on good, but there you go. It's nice smooth transition now. It'll go through your rod guides really nice and without hanging up.
We appreciate you joining us today and hope you have learned some important tips to make your day on the water more memorable. Take care and conserve our waters. Thanks for watching Brent's Fly Fishing Instructional Series. He can be found on Brent's YouTube channel and Sport Fishing on the Fly.